Today I am replacing the Builder Basic wire shelving and installing some MDF shelving in my mom's pantry. Hey guys, how's it going? To start this project off, I unload the MDF sheets out of my truck that I had ripped in half at the store. I could have done it myself, but this is not light stuff, and I figured I'd be more likely to damage it trying to run a full 4x8 sheet through my table saw. It was free to get it cut at the store, so why not? Now unfortunately, A, my shop is too small to fit an 8-foot cross cut through it, and B, my table saw and workbench are now covered in my working material. So I grabbed the two 2x4s I picked up as stretchers to keep the MDF off the bed of my truck, and placed them underneath the top sheet of MDF to act as cutting supports and prevent damage to the sheet below. I've heard of other people using rigid insulation to do the same thing, but I don't have any. And I don't know where to store it either, so 2x4s work, and they're cheap. And I have a bunch. Whatever. I start marking out the entire 3/4 inch thick sheets where my cut lines would be, and then I realized that I didn't factor in for any blade kerf or offset for my cutting guide. So I scrapped everything I just did and remeasured one piece at a time to make sure I had consistency with my measurements, and cut the pieces out with my circular saw. Now with 3/4 inch thick shelf pieces cut out, I move on to the 1/2 inch thick shelf supports. These do fit through the table saw, and since they're lighter, I'm not as concerned about damaging them. So I set the saw fence to 1 3/4 inch and rip off a number of strips. Then I bump the fence over to about 2.5 inches and run the last bit of 3/4 inch thick MDF through the saw and rip off a bunch more strips. MDF might be a huge dusty mess, but man, it cuts nice. Over at the miter saw, I set up a stop block and start cutting all of the pieces to their required lengths. And then I knoll everything on my workbench to make sure I have all of the pieces cut as needed. And now with everything cut to size, I'm pretty much done in my shop. So I load everything up into the truck and gather up my tools that I need, and I'm off for the installation. Over at my mom's condo now, I start pulling out the basic wire shelves, which is a lot easier said than done, since this is not the roomiest of spaces to work in. There was a little bit of drywall damage unfortunately, but since these were all drywall anchored in, that's to be expected. Mom likes painting anyway, so it's all good. With the shelving removed and the little bit of cleanup done, I start laying out the lines to install the shelf supports with the level. And I should really get my family to stop walking in front of the camera while I'm working. Thanks, Jordan. Since I don't have my miter saw with me, I can't just zip off a hair width of MDF all willy-nilly. So I brought my hand plane and did my best to keep the plane straight while I was planing into the sink. MDF also planes really nice if you were curious. And then the camera shot for this is just terrible, but take my word for it, I'm installing the shelf supports into the wall with some brad nails. Oh, here's a better shot. With the shelf supports in place, I figured before I went any further, I should make sure the shelves actually fit. Some of them were a little bit on the tighter side, but otherwise they were good to go. So with my brother risking his fingers, I got him to hold the front trim piece while I nailed it into place. And then it must have been time for dinner or something, and I forgot about the camera since that's the last of the footage that I have. I don't know. You may have also noticed in the knolling shot that there were a lot more pieces here than I actually installed. I actually installed 2 sets of shelving that day, but the other set was in the ensuite, and since the filming angles in there were even worse than here, I didn't bother recording it. I also didn't do any of the drywall repair or painting work, but Mom took care of that a couple of days later, and this is what the pantry looks like now. Much better than the Builder Basic shelving in my opinion. And with that, I'm going to call it a video. Thank you guys for watching, and if you like what I'm doing here, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more. If you have any questions or comments, I look forward to reading them in the comment section below. And if you want to see more up-to-date projects, you can follow me on Instagram at JohnTheSchreiner. Otherwise, I hope to see you in the next video, and have a good one.